The Corin hegemony had conquered 17 star systems in just one solar cycle. They moved through the galaxy like a machine, crushing everything in their path. Every time, they did the same thing. They came with many ships, told the planets to give up, and then destroyed anyone who fought back. Their scout ships found strange energy readings from the Sol system. The Corin leaders were curious. Here was a species that had barely left their home system, but had somehow developed advanced energy technology. The Supreme Commander sent them the usual message: surrender within 3 days, or be destroyed completely. On Earth, the Defense Council met to discuss this threat. For many years, humans had been working in secret for this moment. While the public saw only simple space missions and science projects, a hidden group had been building something new. Admiral Ju Park stood before the world's military and political leaders. She spoke with confidence. The Pathfinder project is ready. We can launch in 24 hours. The room filled with loud arguments. Some wanted to use all their weapons to fight back. Others thought they should try to talk with the aliens, but Admiral Park's calm confidence eventually quieted everyone. "One ship," she said firmly. "That's all we need to send." Many leaders looked shocked. How could one ship stand against an alien fleet? But Admiral Park continued, "What we've built isn't like anything they've seen before. The Pathfinder doesn't need to fight their way. It changes the rules." The defense minister frowned. "That's a big risk, Admiral. If it fails, Earth has no backup plan." "It won't fail," Park replied. "Captain Do-Yeon Kim and his crew have trained for 3 years. The quantum technology has been tested in every possible condition. One ship is all we need." The president stood up slowly. "Tell us more about this quantum technology, Admiral. How can it possibly stand against an invasion fleet?" Admiral Park touched a control, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed a sleek vessel with few external features. The Pathfinder manipulates probability itself. It doesn't dodge attacks. It makes attacks impossible. It doesn't need weapons. It changes reality so that the enemy defeats themselves. Several scientists in the room nodded in understanding, but others looked confused. "Think of it this way," Park explained. "Every event has a certain chance of happening. What if you could make something with a 1 in a billion chance become certain? Or make something that should definitely happen become impossible? That's what the Pathfinder does." The room grew quiet as everyone thought about this. Finally, the defense minister spoke again. "And you're certain this will work against an advanced alien fleet?" "It already has in our tests," Park said. "The principles of probability are universal. Their technology may be different, but mathematics remains the same everywhere." The president looked around the room. "We need to vote. All in favor of the Pathfinder mission, raise your hands." Slowly, hands went up around the table. Not everyone at first, but as more joined, eventually almost all were raised. "It's decided then," the president said. "Admiral Park, you have authorization to deploy the Pathfinder." As the meeting ended, a young general approached Park. "Admiral, this ship of yours better be as good as you claim. The fate of our entire species depends on it." Park nodded solemnly. "I know exactly what's at stake, General. But remember, throughout history, humanity has often been outmatched. What saved us wasn't always having more weapons or soldiers. It was thinking differently." In orbit above Earth, the Pathfinder was being prepared for its mission. Captain Do-Yeon Kim stood in his quarters, looking at a photo of his family. He knew the responsibility he carried. If the Pathfinder failed, Earth would fall. The ship's communication system activated. "Captain, Admiral Park is requesting to speak with you." Kim touched the screen, and Park's face appeared. "Captain, the Council has approved the mission. You launch in 20 hours. "We'll be ready, Admiral," Kim replied. "The crew is prepared." Park nodded. "The Corin fleet will arrive in about 30 hours. Your job is to intercept them before they can deploy their forces." "Understood." "And the mission parameters. Force them to retreat. Make them understand that Earth is not an easy target. Show them enough to make them fear what else we might be capable of." Park paused. "But remember, we don't just want to survive this encounter. We want to change how they see us. Not as another species to conquer, but as one they shouldn't challenge." Kim thought about this. Understanding, not just intimidation. "Exactly," Park said. "Good luck, Captain. Earth is counting on you." As the communication ended, Kim returned to preparing. He reviewed the crew assignments one more time. 12 specialists, the best in their fields. They had trained together for years, becoming a perfectly coordinated team. Dr. Suman Lee, the quantum physicist who had helped design the ship's core technology, was running final tests. Lieutenant Dae-hyun Choi was checking the tactical systems. Each crew member knew that history would remember what happened in the next few days. The Pathfinder wasn't like traditional military vessels. It carried no missiles, no energy weapons. Its power came from understanding the deepest rules of reality and finding ways to bend them. It was humanity's greatest achievement. Not a weapon of destruction, but a tool of possibility. As Earth prepared for the coming encounter, people everywhere looked up at the night sky. Some prayed, others celebrated what might be their last days. Few knew about the Pathfinder, but all felt the weight of the moment. Tomorrow, one ship would face an alien armada. One ship would carry humanity's hopes. One ship would change the rules of the game. The Pathfinder rested in Earth's orbital dock, its smooth hull reflecting the stars. It wasn't a large ship, only half a kilometer long, but what made it special was hidden inside. This vessel contained humanity's most advanced technology, the result of decades of secret research. Captain Do-hyun Kim walked through the ship's main corridor, his footsteps echoing on the metal floor. He nodded to each crew member he passed. These 12 specialists had been chosen from thousands of candidates after years of testing and training. "Captain on the bridge," announced Lieutenant Dae-hyun Choi as Kim entered the command center. The bridge was simple but efficient. 6 stations formed a circle around the captain's chair. Each station controlled different systems: navigation, tactical, communications, engineering, science, and medical. The walls displayed views of space and ship status. "Status report," Kim ordered as he took his seat. "All systems are online and functioning at optimal levels," reported the engineering officer. "Quantum core is stable." Dr. Suman Lee looked up from her science station. "The probability matrix is aligned. We're ready for field activation when needed." Kim nodded. "Communications, any update on the core and fleet?" "Long-range sensors show they will arrive in approximately 6 hours, replied the communications officer. "They're maintaining formation and speed." Kim turned to address the entire bridge crew. "In a few hours, we will face an enemy that has never been defeated. They have conquered 17 systems and destroyed countless civilizations. But today, that changes." He stood up and looked at each crew member. "We're not fighting them with traditional weapons. We're changing the rules of reality itself. Each of you was selected because you're the best at what you do. I have complete faith in this crew and this ship." The crew nodded, their faces showing determination rather than fear. "Begin pre-launch procedures," Kim ordered. "We depart in 30 minutes." As the crew prepared for launch, Kim went to his private terminal and opened a secure channel to Admiral Park. "Admiral, we're preparing to depart," he reported. Park's face appeared on the screen. "Good. The Defense Council is monitoring the situation. Remember your mission parameters, Captain. Your goal is to force their retreat without destroying their fleet if possible." "Understood, Admiral. We'll show them enough to make them reconsider, but not enough to reveal all our capabilities." Park's expression was serious. "The future of humanity depends on what happens in the next few hours, Captain. No pressure." Kim allowed himself a small smile. "No pressure at all, Admiral." After ending the communication, Kim returned to the bridge. The crew was at their stations, ready for departure. "Disconnect from orbital dock," Kim ordered. Engage main drive at 1/4 power. The ship hummed as its engines activated. On the main screen, Earth grew smaller as they moved away from the planet. Set course to intercept the Corran fleet, Kim said. We'll meet them before they reach Earth's orbit. The journey was quiet. Each crew member checked and rechecked their systems, knowing that everything had to work perfectly. There would be no second chances. Dr. Lee approached the captain as they neared the intercept point. Captain, I'd like to explain the quantum probability system one more time, to ensure we all understand what will happen. Kim nodded. Go ahead, Doctor. Lee activated the main display, showing a complex diagram. The Pathfinder doesn't just react to events, it changes the probability of them occurring. When the Corrans fire their weapons, our system will calculate all possible outcomes and select the one where their attacks miss. How is that possible? Asked one of the newer crew members. At the quantum level, all outcomes exist simultaneously until observed, Lee explained. Our technology essentially observes the outcome we want, collapsing probability in our favor. It requires enormous computational power and energy, but it works. And the second phase? Kim asked. Lee nodded. Once we've passed through their fleet, the quantum resonators will attach to their ships. These tiny devices will create localized probability fields, making their systems more likely to fail. The more aggressive their actions against us, the more severe the failures will be. It sounds like magic, the communications officer commented. Advanced technology often does, Lee replied with a smile. But it's based on solid science. We're just the first to apply it this way. Contact. Lieutenant Choi suddenly called out. Corran fleet detected. 87 vessels in standard attack formation. Kim returned to his command chair. Main screen. The display showed the Corran fleet, a massive collection of ships arranged in a diamond pattern. Their dark hulls were covered with weapon ports and energy projectors. They've detected us, Choi reported. They're adjusting course to intercept. Open a channel, Kim ordered. The communications officer worked her controls. Channel open, Captain. Kim stood tall. This is Captain Do-Hyun Kim of the Earth vessel Pathfinder. We are aware of your ultimatum. This is our response. The Sol system and all its planets are under human protection. We request that you withdraw your forces immediately. There was a moment of silence before a response came. The screen showed a Corran commander, tall, with segmented armor and multiple eyes. This is Supreme Commander Tejo of the Corran hegemony, the alien replied. Your response is noted and rejected. One ship cannot stand against our fleet. Surrender now, and we will allow your species to survive as servants. Kim's expression remained calm. I'm afraid we must decline your generous offer, Commander. We prefer to remain free. Tahoe's multiple eyes narrowed. Then you will be destroyed as an example to your planet. The communication ended abruptly. They're charging weapons, Choi reported, his voice steady despite the danger. Kim took his seat. All crew, prepare for engagement. Dr. Lee, activate the quantum probability field. Lee's fingers moved quickly over her controls. Quantum core transitioning to active state. Probability field initializing. A subtle vibration passed through the ship as the revolutionary technology activated. The Pathfinder didn't try to evade or raise shields like a conventional vessel. Instead, it altered the fabric of probability itself. They're firing, Choi announced. Beams of energy shot from the Corran vessels, a devastating barrage that should have vaporized the lone human ship instantly. But none of them hit. On the bridge of the Corran command ship, Supreme Commander Tejo watched with disbelief. The energy beams from 87 warships had somehow missed the small human vessel. Not a single shot had connected. Impossible, he whispered. His 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of extreme confusion among his species. Check the targeting systems. His weapons officer worked frantically. All targeting systems report optimal function. Supreme Commander, the shots should have hit. Fire again. All ships, Maximum power, Tahoe ordered, his voice rising with frustration. The Corran fleet responded immediately. Hundreds of energy beams lanced across space, converging on the position of the Pathfinder. The deadly light show lit up the darkness of space, a display of firepower that had destroyed entire fleets in previous conquests. Again, not a single beam touched the human ship. Inside the Pathfinder, Captain Kim remained calm in his command chair. The ship hummed with energy as its quantum systems processed billions of calculations per second. Probability field holding at 99.8% efficiency, Dr. Lee reported from her station. Her eyes never left her displays as data streamed across them. The system is working perfectly. Lieutenant Choi checked his tactical screen. They're repositioning their ships, trying to create an inescapable firing pattern. Kim nodded. As expected, maintain our current position. On the main screen, they could see the Corran vessels moving into a new formation, a sphere around the Pathfinder, designed to ensure that no matter which way the human ship moved, it would face weapons fire. Captain, Communications Officer Ju Han spoke up. We're receiving a transmission from the Corran command ship. On screen, Kim ordered. Commander Tahoe's face appeared, his expression a mixture of anger and confusion. What trickery is this? What technology are you using? Kim kept his face neutral. No trickery, Commander. Simply a different understanding of the universe. No defense system can block all our weapons, Tahoe insisted. Surrender your technology, and we may spare your planet. I'm afraid that won't be possible, Kim replied calmly. I suggest you withdraw your forces. Tahoe's multiple eyes narrowed. We do not retreat. Prepare to experience the full might of the Corran hegemony. The screen went dark as he cut the communication. They're charging their main planetary destroyer, Choi reported. It's their most powerful weapon. Kim turned to Dr. Lee. Will the probability field hold against their main weapon? Lee checked her calculations quickly. Yes, but it will strain the quantum core. We should move to Phase 2 soon. Kim nodded. Prepare for Phase 2. Navigation. Plot a course through the center of their formation. The navigation officer looked surprised but entered the coordinates. Course plotted, Captain. Execute, Kim ordered. Full power to the quantum core. The Pathfinder began to move, not away from the Corran fleet but directly toward it. This unexpected action seemed to confuse the enemy briefly. On the Corran command ship, Tahoe watched the small human vessel approach his fleet. They're moving toward us. Are they attempting a suicide run? His tactical officer studied the readings. Their power signature is changing, Supreme Commander. Energy levels are increasing dramatically. Fire the planetary destroyer. Tahoe commanded. Now. At the center of the Corran formation, their largest ship opened its forward section, revealing a massive energy weapon. Light gathered at its focus point, building to blinding intensity before releasing a beam so powerful it could crack a planet's crust. The beam shot forth, directly at the Pathfinder. Inside the human ship, alarms blared as sensors detected the incoming attack. Planetary destroyer firing, Choi announced, his voice tense but controlled. Probability field at maximum, Lee reported. Calculating alternative outcomes. The massive energy beam approached the Pathfinder, then suddenly curved away, as if deflected by an invisible force. It continued on a new trajectory, narrowly missing 3 Corran ships before dissipating harmlessly in space. How is this possible? Commander Tahoe roared, slamming his fist down on his command console. No technology can redirect the planetary destroyer. His science officer checked and rechecked the sensor data. Supreme Commander, according to our readings, the beam changed course on its own. There was no deflector technology detected. That defies the laws of physics. Tahoe protested. Sir, the science officer replied hesitantly, I believe that may be exactly what they're doing, changing the laws that we understand. Meanwhile, the Pathfinder continued its approach, moving steadily toward the heart of the Corran fleet. They're trying to surround us more tightly, Choi reported. moving ships to block our path. Let them, Kim replied. The closer they are, the better for Phase 2. Dr. Lee's fingers moved rapidly across her console. Quantum resonators ready for deployment. Field generators at optimal power. As the Pathfinder reached the edge of the Corin formation, Kim gave the order. Begin Phase 2. Deploy quantum resonators. Tiny devices, too small to be detected by Corin sensors, began to launch from the Pathfinder. These microscopic machines carried quantum field generators that would attach to the enemy vessels and create localized probability distortions. The Pathfinder accelerated suddenly, weaving between the massive Corin warships with impossible precision. It moved not in straight lines, but in patterns that seemed to anticipate every attempt to target it. How are they moving like that? Tahoe demanded. No pilot can navigate so perfectly. What the Corin commander didn't understand was that the Pathfinder wasn't avoiding their weapons. It was selecting the reality where their targeting systems failed to track it correctly. As the human ship passed close to each Corin vessel, the quantum resonators attached to their hulls, invisible to conventional detection methods. Phase 2 deployment at 40%, Lee reported as they continued through the formation. Resonators functioning as designed. On the Corin ships, strange things began to happen. Targeting systems showed phantom images. Weapons refused to fire. Communications between ships became garbled with impossible interference. Supreme Commander, a panicked officer called out, "Something is happening to our systems." Tahoe watched in growing horror as his fleet, the pride of the Corin hegemony, began to experience failures that couldn't be explained. Not catastrophic all at once, but small failures that grew steadily worse. The Pathfinder continued its seemingly impossible journey through the heart of the enemy formation, untouched and unstoppable. The Pathfinder moved through the heart of the Corin fleet like a ghost. It didn't fly in straight lines, but followed paths that seemed to bend and twist through space. Each time the Corin ships fired, their weapons missed. It wasn't just good piloting. It was something that should have been impossible. Captain Kim watched the main screen as they passed dangerously close to a Corin destroyer. He could see the alien weapon ports tracking them, firing, and somehow missing every time. Quantum resonator deployment at 60%, Dr. Lee reported from her station. The effect is beginning to spread through their fleet. On the tactical display, Lieutenant Choi tracked the strange failures happening across the enemy vessels. Their communication systems are breaking down. They can't coordinate their attacks. The Pathfinder's strategy was working. As the quantum resonators attached to each ship, they created small fields of altered probability. In these fields, unlikely events became common. Systems that had worked perfectly for years suddenly failed. Targeting computers calculated wrong coordinates. Power systems fluctuated without reason. On the Corin command ship, chaos was growing. Commander Tahoe watched helplessly as his perfect military machine fell apart around him. "What is happening to my fleet?" he demanded, his voice shaking with rage. His chief engineer looked up from a sparking console. "Supreme Commander, our systems are experiencing failures that shouldn't be possible. It's as if the basic rules of reality have changed." "That's nonsense." Tahoe slammed his fist down, and the console broke completely, something that should not have happened from such a light impact. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "3 of our destroyers just fired on each other." "What? How?" Tahoe rushed to the tactical display. Sure enough, 3 of his ships had just exchanged fire, causing significant damage to each other. The crews report that their targeting systems showed enemy vessels at those locations, the officer explained. "But our sensors confirm they were our own ships." The science officer approached cautiously. "Supreme Commander, I believe the human vessel is somehow altering probability fields around our ships. They're making the unlikely become likely." His technology, his second-in-command suggested. "We cannot fight what we don't understand." "The Corin hegemony does not retreat," Tahoe roared. But even as he said it, more reports of failures came flooding in. Inside the Pathfinder, The crew watched as their plan unfolded perfectly. The quantum resonators were creating cascading failures throughout the enemy fleet. Final approach to the command ship, the navigation officer announced. Ready to deploy the primary resonator. Kim nodded. Proceed as planned. Dr. Lee, prepare the command ship package. Lee pressed a sequence on her console. Command ship package ready. This will create a stronger effect than the others. The Pathfinder swooped toward the massive Koran command vessel. Despite heavy fire from all operational weapons, the human ship remained untouched. Deploying command ship package now, Lee reported as they passed close to Tahoe's vessel. Unlike the other resonators, this one was programmed differently. Rather than causing random failures, it targeted the ship's sensory systems specifically. On the Koran command bridge, reality itself seemed to waver. Officers saw impossible things on their screens. Some saw Earth's fleet approaching, though no such fleet existed. Others saw their own ships exploding, though they remained intact. The confusion was total. I can't trust what I'm seeing, one officer cried out. The sensors must be lying. Commander Tahoe tried to maintain control, but how could he command when he couldn't trust any information? Switch to visual observation only, he ordered. But even the viewports seemed to show contradictory images. Some showed the Pathfinder in multiple places at once. Others showed Earth surrounded by defensive platforms that weren't really there. We've completed our run through their formation, Choi reported on the Pathfinder. All resonators successfully deployed. Kim nodded. Take us to holding position, 5,000 kilometers from their fleet. The Pathfinder pulled away from the confused Koran fleet, which was now barely functioning as a coordinated force. Ships moved erratically, some firing at phantom targets, others powering down to prevent their weapons from firing at allies. Open a channel to the command ship, Kim ordered. After a moment, Tahoe's face appeared on the screen. The Koran commander looked shaken, his usual confidence gone. Commander Tahoe, Kim began, as you can see, your fleet is no longer combat effective. We have not destroyed your ships, merely adjusted the rules they operate under. What have you done to us? Tahoe demanded. This is no normal weapon. It's not a weapon at all, Kim replied calmly. It's a probability manipulator. Your ships now exist in a state where unlikely events are becoming common. The more aggressive your actions toward us, the more severe these events will become. To demonstrate his point, Kim nodded to Dr. Lee. She entered a command, and suddenly, all weapons on the Koran command ship powered down at once. That shouldn't be possible, Tahoe whispered, looking at reports from his weapons officer. For you, impossible things will continue to happen, Kim explained, until you leave our system. On the Pathfinder's bridge, the crew watched the Koran ships with careful attention. The quantum resonators were working perfectly, creating a state of confusion and malfunction throughout the enemy fleet. They're trying to coordinate a final attack, Choi reported, watching the enemy movements. Some ships are still operational enough to pose a threat. Kim nodded. Dr. Lee, increase resonator output on those vessels. Lee adjusted the quantum field, increasing probability distortion now. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The Koran ships that had been preparing to attack suddenly experienced catastrophic system failures. Engines cut out. Weapons exploded in their housings. Navigation systems sent them veering off course. I believe they're getting the message, Kim said quietly. Commander Tahoe stared at the status reports from across his fleet. Nearly half his ships were now completely disabled. The others were experiencing increasing problems. If this continued, his entire fleet would be crippled without the humans firing a single shot. For the first time in his long military career, Tahoe considered the unthinkable. Retreat. Captain Kim stood on the bridge of the Pathfinder, watching the main screen as the Koran fleet drifted in disarray. Ships that had conquered 17 star systems now floated helplessly, their systems failing in ways that defied explanation. The quantum resonators had done their job perfectly. Open a channel to Commander Tahoe, Kim ordered. Tahoe stared at the small human ship on the main screen. It continued its impossible journey through his fleet, untouched and seemingly unstoppable. No species we've encountered has technology like this. Sir, we should retreat and analyze. The communication officer worked her controls. Channel open, Captain. The screen showed the Corran commander. His once proud posture was now bent with confusion and defeat. The bridge behind him showed signs of damage, not from weapons, but from systems failing in impossible ways. Commander Tahoe, Kim began, this situation can end now. Your fleet is experiencing the effects of probability manipulation. In simple terms, we have changed the mathematics that govern your ships. Tahoe's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. How is this possible? No species we have encountered has such technology. Humanity has always thought differently, Kim explained. We don't just accept the rules of the universe. We question them. And sometimes, we find ways to change them. Kim nodded to Dr. Lee, who adjusted her controls. Immediately, the failures across the Corran fleet intensified. More systems shut down. Some ships began to drift into each other. As you can see, Kim continued, we can increase these effects. If we wanted to, we could make it probable that your entire fleet would destroy itself without us firing a single shot. On his damaged bridge, Tahoe watched another console explode for no apparent reason. His tactical officer was trying to restart weapon systems that kept shutting down. His navigator couldn't hold a steady course. What are your terms? Tahoe finally asked, the words painful to speak. Kim's expression remained calm. First, you will withdraw your fleet from this system. Second, you will acknowledge Earth and all human colonies as sovereign territory, exempt from any future conquest attempts. Tahoe hesitated. In thousands of years of expansion, the Corran hegemony had never agreed to such terms. And in return, he asked. In return, we will restore normal probability functions to your vessels, allowing you to depart safely, Kim replied. We have no desire to destroy your fleet. The Corran commander considered his options. With each passing minute, more of his ships became completely disabled. Soon he might not be able to retreat at all. How do I know you will keep your word? Tahoe asked. Kim smiled slightly. Because unlike your hegemony, we prefer cooperation over conquest. We could have destroyed your fleet already if that was our goal. To demonstrate his point, Kim nodded to Dr. Lee again. She entered a command, and suddenly, the critical navigation systems on all Corran vessels began working normally again. As a show of good faith, Kim explained, we've restored your navigation capabilities. You can verify this yourself. Tahoe checked with his officers, who confirmed that their navigation systems were indeed functioning properly again. It was a powerful gesture, giving them back the ability to leave. Very well, Tahoe said finally. The Corran hegemony will withdraw from the Sol system. We acknowledge your sovereignty over this region of space. A wise decision, Commander, Kim replied. As you retreat, we will gradually restore your ship's systems. By the time you reach the edge of our system, all probability distortions will be removed. The communication ended, and the bridge crew of the Pathfinder watched as the Corran fleet slowly began to move away from Earth. They're really leaving, Lieutenant Choi said, sounding almost surprised. Kim nodded. No one likes to fight when the rules suddenly change. The Corrans have conquered through superior firepower and technology. When those advantages disappeared, so did their confidence. Dr. Lee looked up from her station. Captain, the quantum core is still functioning perfectly. We could maintain the probability field indefinitely if needed. Let's hope that won't be necessary, Kim replied. Keep monitoring the Corran fleet. If they attempt anything aggressive, increase the resonator output immediately. As promised, the Pathfinder gradually restored normal function to the Corran ships as they retreated. First navigation, then communications, then other essential systems. The weapons systems would be the last to return to normal operation. Captain Kim opened a channel to Earth. Admiral Park, this is the Pathfinder. The Corran fleet is withdrawing from our system. Mission accomplished. Admiral Park's face appeared on the screen, relief evident in her expression. Excellent work, Captain. Any casualties? None, Admiral. Not a single shot hit us, and we didn't fire any ourselves. Park shook her head in amazement. The Defense Council is monitoring the situation. The President wants to speak with you once you return to Earth. Understood, Admiral. We'll begin our return journey once the Corran fleet has cleared the system. As the communication ended, Kim turned to his crew. You've all performed admirably today. What we've done here will change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The navigation officer looked up. Sir, do you think they'll come back? With more ships, perhaps? Kim considered this. I doubt it. The Corrans conquer because it's easy for them. Today, we showed them that humans are anything but easy. They'll find softer targets elsewhere. Dr. Lee added, and they don't fully understand our technology. That uncertainty will make them cautious. Fear of the unknown is a powerful deterrent. As the Pathfinder maintained its position, watching the retreating Corran fleet, Kim thought about what this victory meant. Humanity had faced its first major extraterrestrial threat and prevailed not through superior firepower or numbers, but through innovation and thinking differently. In the coming days, the story of the Pathfinder would spread across Earth. People would celebrate the ship that had saved them, but few would understand the true significance of what had happened. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy not as another species to be conquered, but as one with the potential to change the rules of the game itself. The Pathfinder had done more than save Earth. It had changed the equation. Later, as the Corran fleet reached the edge of the solar system, Captain Kim sent one final message to Commander Teo. Remember what happened here. Not as a defeat, but as an introduction. The galaxy is large enough for all species to thrive without conquest. Perhaps next time, we can meet as equals rather than as enemies. As promised, the quantum resonator is deactivated, restoring normal operation to all Corran vessels. The Pathfinder turned back toward Earth, its mission complete. The fleet had expected a battle, but humanity had sent just one ship, and that had made all the difference.